We're going to do it live.
Yeah, I don't. Who's Bill O'Reilly?
I don't. Is it O'Reilly, like the auto parts store?
O'Reilly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're back as we're babbling for the TRG podcast. I'm Doug Harbaugh. I'm a chartered retirement planning counselor. Alongside me is Luke Lloyd. Per the usual, unfortunately, he is a junior advisor and investment strategist for Strategic Wealth Partners. You know, I do a radio show throughout the week, and it is like coming here and beating a dead horse all the time. So, I mean, it is kind of nice to just come in and make it up as we go, because it is hard to talk about just, you know, oh, the world's coming to an end. We've got coronavirus. We've got rioters. It was actually pretty funny. Check this out. I was talking to, we're going to talk about riots. So we know about the Harbaugh guys in downtown Cleveland, how they stood outside their shop with their shotguns and protected their property. So I was talking to a business owner of Little Italy. I was actually daydreaming what it would look like. I'll leave them nameless, but in a post that I put, you know, if they go to Little Italy, I imagine such and such standing shirtless with his flowing Italian hair with a ball bat. And when I said that to him, he goes, ball bat? I had a Glock. And he goes, I had 80 of the neighborhood guys, and we were all armed. And from what I found out is, I guess the protesters were marching towards Little Italy, and the police said, if you go in there, you're on your own. And when they said, what do you mean? They said, Little Italy has more guns than we do. And if you go in there, you're on your own. And apparently the protesters turned around. So that's the highlight of my week, is that some sort of old school mafia drawn out, you know, neighborhood thing like you saw in the movies actually happened. Yeah. He goes, and it was even funnier, you know, he's older, but he's really a fit guy. But he said, he goes, you know, what was probably messed up is if they came in, we probably would have shot each other because, you know, we don't got such a good aim anymore. You know, he's like, we're on the rooftops and everything, and yeah, I don't know if it would have turned out so good for us.
Yeah, well,
it's good.
Everywhere. It's good it never got to that point.
Yeah, hey, no, I'm glad, but I just think it's funny that the cops said, you're on your own. Yeah. The cops wanted nothing to do with Little Italy. Yep. That's amazing that still exists. Yeah, the guys in the neighborhood showed up with trunks opened up. They lift the flap out, and all of a sudden, all these weapons come out.
You do a good impression of that.
That's what it sounded like, too. And that's why I said I'll leave the guy nameless. But he's a business owner down there, and you can see that people wanted to defend their property. Always people say take a side, and riots are disgusting. It's disgusting. If you break other people's stuff, you're disgusting to me. Yep. The end. That's it. We're not going to get into the politics of the other BS that's going on. It's all terrible right now.
What it comes down to is the businesses, right? It's what you mentioned. Small businesses are being affected by this. I mean, first they had the coronavirus situation. Now they have these riots, and that's a cause for concern because some of the businesses are going to be protected by their insurance, right? But then some of them are, insurance finds loopholes all the time. So a lot of them are going to be hurting, and that's why it's a concern for the long-term success of the economy, because 50% of the private payroll of private employment is from small businesses.
I never heard you say that before.
I've said it like 30 times in the past probably month, but like it's because it's applicable to what's happening right now.
Applicable?
I don't know.
Like it's applicable.
It's relevant.
It's kind of like relevant. When people say integral or integral.
Integral. It's integral.
Is it?
I'm a math major.
Are you sure?
It's integral.
I'm just making sure. But maybe
it's a different definition. But integral is, remember the how you add up.
Hey, Nietzsche said there is no fact, only interpretation. That's my favorite quote. And if someone interprets it to be integral, or whatever they want to be.
Well, I mean, I guess that's all part of the English language and how it can be interpreted different ways. Right.
I'm just
my mom is an English major, so I think she would tell me.
I'm talking for the sake of talking, so we don't talk about depressing stuff.
Well, that's the thing. We can't. Things are very negative right here, right? No. So right now, I mean, things are. Every time you get on social media now, things are negative. The market seems to be positive. One of the only things that's positive right now is the stock market. Like, we recovered so much. Economically, the economics are showing we're basically in a depression. So it's kind of interesting that the stock market is one of the only positive things right now that's happening in the
26% unemployed is a depression?
Really? Yeah.
That's weird.
I think the top
quarter of the country isn't working, and we're in a depression, and the stock market is, just
basically at all-time highs.
It's doing. Well, but it's interesting is, like, I did see that the bond yield curve is steepening.
Yeah.
So that would be contrary to a depression, meaning that things are getting better. Maybe the worst is behind us because the yield spread is increasing, which is good.
Yeah.
Which is strange. None of it makes sense. But I guess the market does what the market wants to do right now, despite valuations.
Well, yeah. So the yield spread is like tightening, right? So when it's tightening, though, it's a good sign, right? When it's spreading, that means there's a lot of uncertainty.
Right.
So
did I say it backwards at the end?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's okay though because we clarified that. But the tightening means that there's more certainty in the economy.
I know what I meant.
I know what you meant too.
Right.
But since they're tightening, that means there's less concern for things to get worse in the long run. So projected in the future, the economy does its thing. The stock market does its thing. But what's really interesting is there's a disconnect between the two, and we've talked about that before. Will they ever come into sync?
We have?
We've talked about it hundreds of times.
Yeah.
But will they ever come into sync?
I thought this was the first time we've done this.
It seems like every time we come in here is the first time because we never know what we're talking about.
Yeah, every time I come on to do this, it's just to talk about, the same thing over and over again. I do feel like I'm beating that dead horse. Where did that term come from?
I don't know. I kind of don't want to know.
Why would anyone beat a dead horse?
It's it's just stop talking about it. It's negative.
It's really strange.
It's negative. Why are you putting bad thoughts in my head?
What's that guy doing to the horse? The horse is gone. He's no longer with us.
Yeah.
It's just strange to me. Anyways, so the reason why we do this show or podcast every week on top of the radio show is to just kind of enlighten you to different things with the markets and what's going on in the world and just bring you content. Sometimes the content is goofy, but again, it's hard to wake up every day and talk about serious stuff consistently without getting a little depressed. You know what I mean? You were locked in your house by the National Guard.
Yeah. I mean, it was more concern for getting back in if I left.
No, you were afraid.
Because I think it would be very bad, if they blocked off the exits to leave. That would make me feel trapped, and I don't want to feel trapped. But I was concerned earlier in the week when we were on lockdown that if I left the city, I wouldn't be able to get back in. I actually called the police station early on. I said, hey, I apologize for calling because I know you guys are busy with other stuff, more important stuff going on right now. But I'm just curious if I left the city to go to work, if I was able to get back in. And they said to me, they're like, hey, information's changing every 5 minutes. We don't even know what's happening. So if they don't know what's happening, I'm not going to act like I know what's happening because I was very confused at that point. So I actually didn't come into work on Monday because I was concerned if I was able to get back in. So now I'm actually able to get back in.
I want to be honest. You were playing video games.
I was not. I actually got a lot of work done on Monday. It was one of my most productive days. I'm not very productive working from home, but Monday was.
You were playing video games in your Fruit of the Looms.
I never play. I probably wasn't my Fruit of the Looms. I'll be honest there. But I wasn't playing video games because I don't play
playing some
video games
Nintendo.
I actually don't have Xbox Live anymore.
You got
so
a
I got rid of
Nintendo. You're old school.
The good old Mario.
It's like 2 buttons.
Yeah.
Select to start, up and down.
I used to play those games.
Yeah.
I was actually past the generation of Nintendo 64. First game console I had was PlayStation 2. Shout out to PlayStation 2. It was my first one.
That's like me saying that, shouting out to Kombucha here from GTS.
They're going to start paying us.
They're not going to pay us. They've been in business 25 years. If you like kombucha.
If you haven't noticed, we have a new drink here every
It's not a new drink. It's either Monster or kombucha.
Like I said, it's a very millennial thing
switch
to
it
do.
up. I mean, he started the show talking about Bush Light.
Bush Latte.
Bush Latte. Bush Light. That goes back to my teen years when that's all we would buy at Speedway in Brook Park. Because I've always looked this old. I've actually looked this age since I was like 12. I used to walk into the Town and Country Beverage.
Bald?
I wasn't bald. I had beautiful mane of hair. But I had a beard when I was like 4.
Yeah.
So I used to walk into Town and Country Beverage, had a whole dialogue with the guy in there. I told him I worked for AT&T. As one of the guys who'd get 2 suitcases. We called him a beer.
Yeah.
Walk down the street. I'm like 14 years old.
Good times.
Yeah,
good old days.
Good times. Decades ago. But I guess that's what kids used to be able to do.
Busch Light's a good beer. I think it is. I mean, everyone hates on it because it's known to be like the lowest of the low. But I think it tastes fine.
Natty
Light, I will not drink. That's a whole other story. I will never drink Natty Light.
I mean, I drank it, whatever.
I drank like once, and
when
I
you're
won't do it again.
broke Cleveland kid, you drink what you drink.
I'd rather pay the extra $2 for Busch Latte.
Went to the woods and we hung out. We had like a whole maze back in the woods. It was pretty cool. The cops couldn't even get to us.
Yeah.
Is what was even more fascinating. There used to be a psych ward on Turney Road, and behind that were these tall grasses, and we had carved out a maze into an opening, and in that opening we then strung a tarp with a hole in the middle. You couldn't see through the grass, but we would have fires. We had couches in there.
Sounds like a good time.
We would bring big garbage cans full of ice, and we'd put our beer back there. We were from 14 to 15-year-old kids, man.
Yeah.
But like the police couldn't figure it out because it was an actual maze. So this is in Garfield Heights on the border of Cleveland behind an old psych ward. You just couldn't get to us.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool.
Oh,
but that's what we
cool.
did when we were kids. Instead of burning down
Instead
buildings,
of play video games.
we sat in the woods and we drank beer and pretended we were cool. You know, gosh, even when I went to high school, man, like when I was a freshman, the seniors used to let me take their cars before I even had a driver's license.
Yeah.
And I would go. There was another place in Garfield, a drive-through, that would sell me beer. So that's how I got to all the upperclassmen parties, is because I could provide the beer.
Connections, right?
I'm telling you, I had a beard when I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I'm constantly like, I'm 39 and I know I look like I'm 49, and that sucks.
Yeah.
But when I was 18, I looked the same age.
It is what it is.
I've been perpetually old.
I had a goatee when I was like 14.
Maybe that's why people perceive me to be so grumpy. I just was
Because you are
old.
grumpy.
I'm not grumpy. Woke up old. They're like, what happened to Doug?
It's like that one movie. What's it called? Benjamin was it? Courage Benjamin Button. That's what it is. Story.
Yeah.
He was born old, and then
so I'm gonna get better looking.
He
with
gets
age?
slowly better looking and younger.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The cameraman is in the background shaking his head. No, that's terrible.
It'd be an interesting life.
Let me dream that I'm going to grow up to be more handsome.
It's a good movie, but...
Are we talking about nonsense here?
We are, but talking about high school real quick. My high school, it was drive your tractor to school day basically every day. So lived in the hick town, middle of nowhere, Martins Ferry. It's good times.
Wow. You drove a tractor to school?
I didn't, but there was people that basically... I mean, we never got to that point, but it was very, very small town.
Well, then why bring it up if you didn't drive tractors to work?
Well, my point was
school?
my childhood was a little bit different than yours, it sounds like.
What, you weren't cool?
I wasn't cool. Not back then.
Neither was I. Like, I was like the chubby kid, and then I wasn't. So that's when things changed. I was like chubby, and then it stopped.
Now this guy fights basically MMA.
No, I don't fight MMA.
Well, you know what I mean. Like you train. You don't might not fight, but you train.
No.
CrossFit.
There's a giant difference between pugilism and MMA, and I'm too old for leg kicks. And if you want to get in good shape when you're old and you start to store more body fat, you need to try different things.
Yeah.
And go punch a heavy bag.
Just gotta go burn calories.
Go punch a heavy bag. Jump rope. Run up hills. It's terrible.
Yeah. So not only are we giving financial advice, we also are talking about nutritional advice. We're talking about life advice. That's why it's important, because what our job is here is really talk about everything, is it not?
Yeah, no, I mean,
man, it's really to get to know other people and their life.
Right. Hey, look, some advisors, I think are pretty boring.
Yeah. Why would you want to work with somebody boring? You know?
No, I'm the kind of guy that will try things that I'm told not to. Like a few years ago, we had an advisor who challenged me to do 100,000 push-ups. It was the worst thing I've ever committed to doing in my life.
I'll challenge you.
Challenge me to what?
Whoever can do the most.
To push-ups?
Yeah.
I already did 100,000 push-ups. You do 100,000 push-ups and come talk to me
do
about
100, 250 every day.
Wow, good for you. Try doing, look, all of our phones are going off in here. We're popular guys. You wake up every day for an entire year and do 274 push-ups. I promise you, you will get like 2 months in and you go, this is stupid.
Yeah.
This is stupid.
Dude,
and
that's not even healthy, though.
On New Year's Eve, I finished, and it was like the biggest relief. It was like getting out of a prison sentence.
But that's
I was
not even
oh
healthy.
man, I was supposed to do life, and they let me out.
Because you're tearing down your chest muscle, first of all. You have no time to recover. That's not good.
What are we talking about here, man? Let's stop talking about working out. You don't work out.
But you I can outbench you.
Ooh, I can outbench you.
It's not about that. It's about competition's good though. Talking about oh my gosh, talking about competition, it's good though, right? I mean, it's a thing.
Okay, so we're doing this podcast for what? To let the people know that we like to do push-ups?
No. I don't even know what we're talking about.
Drank beer when we were children. No, I kind of wanted to keep this one lighter than other podcasts because at the end of the day, it is depressing to talk about what's going on. There is a major disconnect, or I would say the stock market's divorced from the overall actual economy. It doesn't really make sense. You know, we do these things to kind of at minimum so you can kind of take note as to what's going in your portfolios. I find it interesting, again, that a lot of people are still hesitant to even entertain change or even to identify issues in their portfolios because obviously the market went down and it came back up.
Yeah.
The market goes down, comes back up. Why would you entertain change? And what I always say entertaining change, or at least finding out where you stand, is number one, even if it did come back, you don't know what your life circumstances are going to present, you know, in the short term. You know, we have 42 million people unemployed.
Yeah.
We're theoretically in a depression. And let's imagine that money that you're letting ride that roller coaster right now is going to be needed in the short term. And I'm not telling you to take your money and put it in cash, and I'm not telling you to take your money, put it in annuities or anything like that. What I'm saying is you need to identify any issues within what you are holding to make sure that, you know, if you aren't employed and you have to tap those assets to keep your house, you know, that's when they came out with the Secure Act,
yeah,
you know, to allow for people to access up to $100,000 of their funds. You know, I would hate for someone who's been largely successful in their life to have their career or their jobs end, right? Not be able to go back to work. For example, the airline industry, they're talking about skilled trade people are no longer going to have jobs.
Right.
Whether it's the engineers or the people that work on the planes, build the engines, they're not going to have jobs. And they're used to making a certain wage, and then all of a sudden they're going to go, oh, wait a minute, I wasn't prepared for this.
Yeah.
And that's why you got to kind of take a look at what you're doing to make sure that I always talk about the 4 buckets, that you have your 4th bucket liquid so you don't have to make poor decisions on your other stuff, or at least seek advice before you start pulling money out of your accounts. Don't just pull money. I mean, I've talked to people recently from United Airlines that are losing their jobs, and they're like, oh, I'm just going to do this or I'm going to do that. I'm like, hold on, pump the brakes. Would you rather find out what's the best move forward, or do you just want to guess?
Yeah.
You know,
well, guessing's never good.
No, because you're lighting money on fire.
Well, we talk about this too on the radio show about how everything can be kind of proven through cash flow or math, whatever it be. Yeah. And there is a right answer. And that's why a lot of people don't understand. Like, our job is to kind of take a look at all the variables and then take a look at your situation personally and then kind of give you guidance on what the probability of the best answer being. Because there's all kinds of different decisions that you're going to have to make in life. And once you make that decision, you know, there's no going back. So, you know, the younger you are, you have more time to kind of fix those mistakes, because if you have more time for compounding, you have more time for other things. But as you approach retirement, that time starts running out. Yeah, and time is the most valuable thing that we have, right?
Yeah, I always say, see if you can do it better, right? I'm the kind of person that even if I build something and it comes out really nice, I always start thinking in the future, how can I remodel it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So even if you have something that has worked well for you, doesn't mean that you can't be more efficient going forward. That's why in these podcasts, I mean, check out the link below, trg.swpconnect.com. Check out my portfolio x-ray on there. In there, it'll allow for you to put in your top 10 holdings. And what we'll do is we'll send you a customizable report letting you know if there's any leaks in the plumbing financially. If you have more than 10 holdings, that's fine. Just, you know, give me a call, 216-800-9000, and or email me, doug@swpconnect.com, and say, hey, man, I have more holdings than what this thing allows for. Yeah. That's cool. Send them over to me. I'll put together a customizable report. I'll give you a thumbs up. I'll give you or I'll give you a thumbs down and say, here's how you can fix some of these circumstances to be more efficient going forward. At minimum, just double check what you're doing.
Yeah,
that's it.
And you want somebody to tell you how it is, right? You want a financial advisor, somebody to give advice and not be, you know, cookie cutter, or not be kind of beating around the details, because somebody who's going to give you the actual correct advice, or the realistic kind of expectation of what you should expect, that's important, because if you get that kind of details around the cookie cutter information, then you're not going to have the best information to work with, and that's an issue.
Right. Look, man, I think ultimately people are intimidated to hear what's really happening.
Yeah.
and I say it all the time. They just don't want to know. Again, in March, people didn't want to look at their portfolios.
And they didn't. A lot of them.
They didn't.
A lot
They
of
didn't
our
want to
clients,
look at all.
a lot of our prospects didn't look at their portfolios.
No, I mean, just had someone bring in their money, and I told them I received their check, told them how much it was. They're like, "Oh wow, so that came back."
Yeah. They had no idea.
Did you even know?
So nobody felt the pain.
Right.
Nobody felt the pain.
No, and that's unfortunate when you're, like I said, it doesn't matter if you're 40, you're 45, 50, 55, or 60, 65. You should always be kind of identifying, are there ways for me to improve what I'm doing, whether that's how I'm saving into my retirement accounts, should I be saving more cash, should I be making changes during the market dips and maybe doing some Roth conversions. There's so many different things that you could be checking out and doing with your finances. And that's why I always implore, just even if you're not going to talk to me, talk to somebody, and if your guy isn't calling you out with proactive changes during these markets, seriously, call someone else.
Yeah.
Anybody. Just literally call anybody that's a fiduciary and say, hey, is what I'm doing right, wrong, or indifferent? Am I good to go? Great. And then move on. So other than that, I don't know how long we've been talking here. Do you guys have a time on how long we've been chatting? He doesn't know. He's got to put on his glasses. So
I think it's been about 25 minutes.
We got a cameraman in the background who can't see the camera time to tell us how long we've been chatting.
22 minutes.
So 22 minutes. Now he puts on his glasses to confirm what the girl just told us. We're not going to babble any longer. These are already long. I hope you enjoyed what we talked about today. Remember, always tell yourself this, that you worked far too long for what you have. So you always, always deserve sophisticated, dynamic, and you deserve strategic. Again, check us out, trg.swpconnect.com or at swpconnect.com. See you next time.